Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the coolest weapons in Throne and Liberty, the longbow. Whether you're slaying monsters in PvE or dueling it out in PvP, these bows can make all the difference. First off, let's talk about the top tier longbows you absolutely need to know about. For PvE, the Carnix Nether Bow takes the crown. It's got insane damage output, making it perfect for those monster-filled dungeons. On the other hand, if you're gearing up for PvP, you'll want to get your hands on the Tevant's Arc of Wailing Death. This one is a beast when it comes to hitting players from a distance and dealing devastating blows, a must-have in any PvP encounter. But what about the rest of the epic longbows in the game? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered with a full tier list. We'll break down which bows stand out and which ones, well, might need a little more love. From the underperforming bows to the absolute powerhouses, we'll talk about why each longbow earns its spot in the rankings and how you can use them to your advantage. Stick around for all the details, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which bow is right for your next adventure in Throne and Liberty. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking longbows in Throne and Liberty. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The longbows in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Heroic Longbow of the Resistance. Alright, let's talk about one of the more meh choices in the world of Throne and Liberty, the Heroic Longbow of the Resistance. Honestly, if you're just starting out or in need of something easy to grab, this bow isn't the worst option. It's craftable, so you can make it without too much hassle. But once you've played around with it for a bit, you'll quickly notice it doesn't exactly blow you away. The damage range, 49 to 137, is decent for a longbow, but it's not going to give you the punch that higher tier bows can. And with a slower attack speed of 0.675 seconds, you won't be getting that rapid fire advantage either. The real kicker though, it's passives. Yeah, they're just not cutting it, especially when you stack them up against what you could be getting from better options. Now, let's dive into those passives. You've got a few that sound promising, like a bonus to your critical hit chance or a heavy attack chance, but they're not exactly game changers. A 175 bind chance sounds fun at first, but when you're relying on it for anything significant, it kind of falls short. Traits like plus 100 bind chance or Paleti critical hit chance, cool, but you're still dealing with the Mia base stats. Plus, there's a max health boost of plus 600, which is nice if you're really feeling squishy, but it's not enough to make you feel like a tank. All in all, the Heroic Longbow of the Resistance is something you'll probably grow out of once you unlock better weapons. It's decent in a pinch, but there are definitely better longbows waiting for you as you progress in the game. The longbows in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Longbow of the World Tree. Alright folks, let's talk about a bow that, while not quite in the spotlight, can still hold its own in Throne and Liberty. Enter the Longbow of the World Tree. This one's an epic craftable bow, so it's not just handed to you on a silver platter. You're going to have to work for it, but hey, if you're looking for something that brings decent stats to the table without being over the top, this could be your next weapon. The damage ranges from 35 to 137, which is pretty solid for what it offers. It's got that nice long range capability too, with a 16 meter range, so you can sit back and pick off enemies from a distance without getting too close for comfort. Now, here's where it gets a bit tricky. The Longbow of the World Tree doesn't come with a unique passive. This might be a bit of a letdown for players who want a little more punch in their arsenal. On top of that, it's got a pretty terrible passive that doesn't do much to help you in the long run. It's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely something to keep in mind if you're comparing it to other bows out there with way better bonuses. But hey, sometimes you don't need all the extra fluff if the basics are strong, right? When it comes to its other stats though, this bow doesn't disappoint. The attack speed is at 0.641 seconds, which is decent for consistent shots. It also offers a health regen of 70.5, so you can slowly recover health while you're out in the thick of things, keeping you in the action a bit longer. Plus, the wisdom stat of 8 isn't terrible either, adding a little extra to your magical abilities. Overall, the Longbow of the World Tree lands in the B tier. Not bad, but not a top pick for everyone. It's one of those, if you've got it, use it weapons, but don't expect it to steal the show. The longbows in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Shaikle's Deep Mine Longbow and Aelon's Rejuvenating Longbow, Alright, let's dive into the longbows in Throne and Liberty, but I promise this isn't your typical weapon review. If you're still using your trusty longbow, well, I've got some thoughts that might make you rethink your choice. Trust me, these bows have their quirks, and we need to talk about why one might be a bit underwhelming for certain situations. Let's start with Shaikle's Deep Mine Longbow. Now, this one has decent stats and a solid range, so it's definitely not a bad choice for any bow enthusiast. But here's the kicker. It doesn't have a unique passive that sets it apart from the others. The perception stat it offers is okay, especially if you're playing PvP, but it really doesn't shine in PvE. Plus, you can pick up perception from other gear slots, leaving this longbow feeling like a meh option in the grand scheme of things. You could probably do better with another bow that offers more bang for your buck, especially if you're after something that will hold up through long PvE sessions. Next up, we've got Aelon's Rejuvenating Longbow. The stats are decent, it has great range, and there's that sweet bonus of HP recovery from the passive. The only problem? The healing effect is a bit on the unreliable side. To get the HP back, you need your hits to land, which might sound simple, but in PvP especially, it can be a bit too tricky to rely on. If you're playing in a long PvE grind, the healing is pretty handy, but just keep in mind that cooldown time and hit requirement can leave you high and dry in a pinch. So, while it has its perks, it's not going to outshine the other longbows on this list anytime soon. You see, what makes these longbows stand out is all about what they don't bring to the table. While Aelon's bow offers healing, it's not exactly a game changer in PvP. And as for Shaikle's Deep Mine Longbow, well, without the unique passive, it really only holds its ground because of its decent stats and range. Nothing too flashy, nothing that'll make you want to rush out and equip it as your go-to choice, especially when the other bows offer more specialized benefits. Now let's get real here. Longbows are cool, no doubt, but when you're deep into Throne and Liberty, you start looking for that extra edge. Something that makes the difference between good and great. And for that, you might want to steer clear of these two if you're aiming for top tier performance in both PvE and PvP. Perception's nice, but it doesn't win wars. And while healing is fantastic, it's no good if you can't rely on it when the pressure's on. So yeah, these bows are fine for your everyday adventurer, but if you're looking to climb the ranks or tackle tougher enemies, there are definitely better options out there. Make sure to weigh your choices carefully. You don't want to be stuck with a bow that's just okay when you could be wielding something that elevates your game. The longbows in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Karnik's Netherbow and Turbleck's Deathmark Longbow. Alright, let's dive into the world of longbows in Throne and Liberty, shall we? If you're a fan of ranged combat, you know these bows are an absolute blast to use, but there are some that really stand out. Two that are absolute heavy hitters, Karnik's Netherbow and Turbleck's Deathmark Longbow, are worth taking a closer look at. Trust me, once you get your hands on them, you'll start thinking, how did I ever live without this? First up, we have Karnik's Netherbow. Now, this bow is a solid choice for both PvE and PvP, offering great stats and versatility. It's one of those weapons that fits in almost any build, whether you're stacking for maximum DPS or playing more of a support role. But here's the kicker, to really unlock its full potential, you need to be at maximum range. That's right, get cozy and back up a bit to make sure you're hitting like a freight train. Not every bow asks you to pull back, but Karnik's does. If you're up for a little bit of positioning though, it's an excellent choice. Then we have Turbleck's Deathmark Longbow, which is a worthy alternative to the Netherbow. While it doesn't have quite the same flexibility, it more than makes up for it with a killer passive ability. The bow shines when targeting low health enemies, dealing bonus damage on crits when they're below 25%. It's perfect for those moments when you're up against weakened foes and you want to deliver the final blow. Oh, and did I mention it provides some solid cooldown reduction? This is where things get interesting, as you can bring those high damage, long cooldown skills back into action faster than ever. But of course, no bow is without its quirks. The downside with Turbleck's Deathmark is that the passive only works when your target is below 25% health. That's not always easy to manage in the heat of battle, especially when enemies keep healing or dodging. On top of that, the Wildkin bonus damage only applies to Wildkin targets, and even then, it's not a game changer. Longbows generally don't have many multi-hit attacks, so while the bonus is nice, it's not going to be the difference between life and death. Now, if you're someone who likes to stack cooldown reduction, I'm talking about using items like Swirling Essence Hat and Supreme Devotion, Turbleck's Deathmark Longbow is a solid choice. Those cooldown reducing effects really play well with the bow's passive, letting you cycle your skills more often and keep the pressure on. It's all about that synergy, baby. You'll find yourself dealing with enemies more efficiently, especially when you can bring your big moves back faster than they can react. So, what's the final verdict? Well, If you want a reliable, all-around bow that can fit into nearly any build, Carnix's Nether Bow is your go-to. It's consistent, powerful, and flexible. But if you're a bit more niche and want to specialize in taking out low-health enemies with maximum efficiency, then Tarbleck's Deathmark Longbow is a strong contender. Just remember, it's not perfect. Its potential only shines when the stars align, so it's really up to you whether the effort is worth it. In the end, both bows have their merits and are great additions to any long-range arsenal. Whether you're playing it safe with the Nether Bow or taking calculated risks with the Deathmark Longbow, you'll definitely notice a boost in your gameplay. So, the next time you're deciding which bow to bring into battle, think about what suits your playstyle best and maybe give both of these a shot. The longbows in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Tevent's Arc of Wailing Death. Alright, so let's talk about Tevent's Arc of Wailing Death. This bow isn't just a piece of equipment, it's basically the holy grail for longbow users in Throne and Liberty. We're talking about stats that scream, I'm here to carry your entire team. Seriously, it's one of the most powerful longbows in the game, and its performance in PvP is nothing short of amazing. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on this thing, you'll feel like you're holding a true masterpiece of destruction. Now, looking at its damage numbers, 42 to 164, that's already a solid base, but it gets even better when you consider its attack speed of 0.776 seconds. That's pretty quick, meaning you'll be raining arrows on your enemies before they even know what hit them. Combine that with the dexterity and perception bonuses, and you've got a bow that's not only strong but also sharp. And yes, let's not forget the range increase. It's a great tool to keep enemies at a distance while you deal damage. You'll be untouchable and they won't even have time to blink. But what really puts this longbow in a class of its own are the possible traits. The attack speed plus 8% and critical hit chance plus 80 are just insane. That means you're not only attacking faster, but you're also landing critical hits more often. Add the demon bonus damage plus 16 and mana regen plus 60, and this bow feels like it's designed for a hero, someone who needs to dish out pain and stay in the fight longer. Sure, it's not easy to get and it costs a pretty penny, but trust me, if you do, you'll be the envy of every archer in the game. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.